Hello and welcome to this tutorial. Today we're going to be speaking about making a CSS navigation bar, but with the drop-down menu only using CSS. So we're not going to be going anywhere near any JavaScript or anything like that. We're just going to make it a fully functional drop-down menu using CSS. Okay, very simple. So let's get started, shall we? So just a quick explanation. I've made this kind of small little website, and I've just zoomed in so you can see it a little bit better. And got a simple little title and a simple little body with some text, then our navigation bar across here, so our horizontal navigation bar. And we're going to implement this one navigation bar now, so when you then hover with your mouse over one of the elements within inside the navigation bar, then an additional vertical drop down menu beneath it then displays with say 4 or 5 different options. We're only going to one level, but potentially by showing you this method you will then be able to implement further other like kind of side menus from here, because it's the kind of same concept and the same method to do a continuation on. Therefore, I only really need to teach you how to do the first level, then you can learn and learn and learn from there to keep on adding sub menus and sub menus and so on, using the same idea. Okay, so at the moment, just a quick bit of orientation. I've just got this simple HTML page. You can see this is all just commented out. Okay, and our wrapper, then our navigation bar, and then our main body. The only thing that we need to concentrate on here is this nav bar div. Right, so the first thing that we need with inside of our nav bar then is an unordered list. Okay, and then with inside of this we're then just going to use a list, and with inside this we're going to make an anchor tag, and then with inside of that we're just going to say button. So let's then just take 5 of these. We'll make five options on the navigation bar, and let's go from there. So we'll just make the simple the horizontal navigation bar first, complete that, then move on secondarily to the to do the drop down menu. So I have a whole layout.css here, which then has everything in it, and there's a couple of things in here which I've implemented with the navbar, which I'll explain shortly. But they're nothing more than text decoration and stuff like that. So what we have for our navbar, which was the class for the div which we had in the previous in the index.php. So this is the main parent thing. So all it is height 30 pixels, background of a grey, and then width auto. So we're doing nothing more than that. Now we're going to then need to implement the CSS for the actual UL that's inside of it. Now I want to give the UL some form of class to indicate which style the UL is going to get, and we're just going to say hori. Okay, so the one going across is just going to be the hori one itself. Okay, nothing more than this so far. So we'll just say, first of all, because I want to knock out the list style type on any list element with inside of it, is equal to none. So we're going to say on this then width is auto, and once again we'll say height is 30, and that's that for now. And then we'll say navigation bar once again, and we're going to copy this to be quick and fast and lazy, and we'll say then li with inside of here. These are going to then be float left, and they're going to have a height of 30 once again, and that's basically it for that. Let's make some more room down here, and then this one is then going to say for the anchor tag itself. So these ones are also going to be then float left. They're going to have height 30. They're going to have line height of 27. They're going to have a color of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 Fs, and they're going to have text aligned center, and they will have then padding of 0 top, 25 right, 0 bottom, and 25 left. This means it's like an auto expanding button. So we're not explicitly saying, hey, this button's going to be 100 pixels in width, it doesn't matter the size of the text inside. That's going to auto size, and then the padding's going to give the correct amount of sizing left and right on it to make it look like a button. Therefore, it doesn't matter the size of the text which goes in it, it's always going to have the same look and feel to it and spacing left and right. So float left, height 30 pixels, that. It seems to look all good to me. Okay, so let's have a look. There we go. Alright, so that's now our navigation bar thing done. Okay, at the moment the text of the or the anchor tags, they don't have any text decoration on it. Now it's because I've turned that off, and then when we roll over it has the text decoration come back on again. This is done with inside of the layout that's here, and that's just down here. Scroll in. So we're just saying nav bar completely, and every single anchor tag with inside of the nav bar is going to have text decoration none. Okay, and then what all we're saying is every single time the nav bar or an anchor tag with inside of the nav bar has the hover event, then we're going to say text decorations underline. We also then said nav bar UL list style type is none, so I just knocked them all out in that for now, and I'm actually going to remove this because I actually want some of them to come on so you can see what's happening, so that process. Okay, so this is now as you can see, so let's make a quick hover for the background of the button, which is going to be very simple. So all we've got to do is then come to the anchor tag, copy this once again, and we'll say here, we'll just say background equals E1, 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 and then color equals then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just use 6 instead. What did I use? Yep, that's fine. So we can just refresh it, and as you can see, we now get effects. So if you just wanted to have a navigation bar, all right, then that would be your navigation bar. Now let's continue with the drop-down menu, shall we? So let's first of all copy this completely to be lazy, all right, because we're going to use exactly the same thing. Now on the third element, David, I say the third element, otherwise I forget which one I'm using. We're going to stick this one in here itself, and on this class Hori we're going to change this to drop down, okay, itself. So let's see what happens on here, but we're going to change all these buttons to lower B, okay, so we can then differentiate between the horizontal ones and the drop down ones nicely. So let's come back to our web page, and as you can see now we've got button, button, button. Okay, so we've got all sorts of problems, and we've got all of then these things everywhere. You know, it's a nightmare now, so it's all over the place. Now let's have a quick look why this has happened. First of all, I'm doing this on purpose. I want this to happen like this so you can see what's going on. So you can see that this LI is floating left, and then the anchor tag is then sitting here, but then the UL is next, and it's saying, well, I'm just going to take the nearest space to the left of me, okay, and I'm going to sit there. Therefore it's putting all the buttons on the left hand side of it, or onto the right hand side, sorry, and it's just doing a continuation. We want it to drop down, and we want it to go underneath that one anchor tag itself, so we don't want it to sit next to it at all. So what do we need to do? We need to come to the actual the UL itself and set some form of selector to say, hey, don't do this, just sit down beneath it rather than to the left of it. So we'll just say LI, because that's what we got, and then we're going to say ULs within LIs, and we'll say drop menu, okay, because that's what it is. And in here we're simply just going to say clear. Actually, we'll do clear both because it doesn't really matter. So we're just saying, hey, any other floating elements to the left or right of me, ignore and just put me to the next line. Simple as that. And it didn't work. Navbar, Hori, L. Did I call it drop menu? Drop down, that's right. There we go. Drop down, David. That's better. Okay, now you can see that it's now dropped down, although we're still getting some problems because we've got all of these LIs are all floating left. Okay, well, we did say in here, look, see, ul.hori li. So that's basically saying, hey, every single li element within inside of me, float it left. Well, that's being too generic, okay? It's just being too broad. We want it to be more specific. Which LIs do you want to have float left? Well, I only want the first ones, okay? The ones directly within inside of me, the first child elements that are there. I don't want to talk about any of their other children LIs if they've got them, okay? Just do these ones directly, all right? So by using this, by using the greater than sign, says only the first ones present, okay? It'll only ever do on the first level. It will not check within inside of those elements. So we save this and come back again, and we should now have our nice little kind of thingy bob type stuff button, if you understood what that meant. Okay, now we come to have a look at our anchor tags. We see our anchor tag sat nicely within inside of our navigation bar, but our drop down menu's a little bit all over the shop. Okay, so but all the things look kind of nice still, all right, which is cool. So let's come back first of all to here. Okay, this was, oh, I removed it, didn't I? Yeah. Okay, so we need, let's come back to the top, see whether I did it. Okay, so I removed all list style types on just the ul.hori, okay, but I didn't remove it on any UL unordered list. So just for the sake of simplicity, okay, and for explicitness, let's just change this hori to then drop down. Okay, now we're saying, hey, drop down. We can't do that because that's height 30 there. So we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to do it ourselves. So we're going to come down to the bottom and do it down here. Okay, so that one's clear both, and we want list style type. So we'll just do it within this declaration anyway. List style type equals none. Okay, so now we know that those little circles are going to go. Okay, all well and good. We're still getting a little bit of buttons all over the place at the moment, and we're kind of not getting any indication of actually where the buttons are. All right, so we need to now know, right, what's going on. Okay, we've got the anchor tag there, we've got the anchor tag there, so they're all sat nicely, which is good, which is fine. They're all sat nicely here, so I'm happy. They're all sitting as a drop down menu beneath, which is exactly what we wanted. Alright, so now we've just got to give the buttons some form of colour, because they've got a white, each button's got a white background, because we said here ul.hori li anchor tag. So we said, hey, every single anchor tag within inside of an li, and every single li beneath here, we're going to say this. So we're going to be less specific and only say the first LIs. Okay, but then that's saying, hey, only but I want that, no, I want that, sorry, but that shouldn't have done anything, because we still now got although we got the hover effects on it, we now want to have them so they've got a background. Okay, well, simplest thing to do, let's just put a background to our UL, shall we? So let's say E1 again. Let's come here. Okay, we're not going to get a background on here because of all these LIs. These LIs are potentially not seeing anything because they have floated elements inside. So we need to give some form of height to the LIs that are within inside of it. Okay. So let's come here and let's say height 30 pixels once again. And let's come here again. Okay, now we can start seeing our drop down menu. Okay, now this is an important factor, is the fact that we can see it naturally, but with the floating again, if you haven't seen my float elements with CSS, then go and check out that one video, or positioning elements using floats. Float can have so many side effects that you need to understand when to use float, but I'm not going to get into that right now. Okay, so now we can see our drop down menu, but as you can see, it's sat underneath this one title, which I've put this title there for a reason, because it's actually sat underneath. You can see that the colours. Now that's a bit of a nose, isn't it? We don't want it underneath, but the one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to start like positioning it everywhere. I just want it kind of just to lift over the top of it. Well, there's a simple way of doing this, really simple, and that's why there's one of the reasons why we need to do this. Okay, so we're going to say drop holder on the LI that's actually going to have a drop down bar beneath it. Okay, and let's come to here and let's then come to the first declaration. So let's come to here and we're going to say navbar ul hori and li, and we're going to say dots drop holder. Okay, and we're going to do nothing more than say position relative. Okay, and let's come back to here. Now you can see our drop down menu is now gone over it because we've told anything with inside of it, hey, you're now basically you're kind of outside of the page as such, and you can kind of do whatever you want. It just gives it that little bit more flexibility. Alright, but it's just a nice little clever trick. Now that we've got our drop down menu, well, we don't want our drop down menu sitting there all the time. Now how do we get rid of it? That's easy, but the question is how do we bring it back without JavaScript, you might be asking, because we've got to hover over this one button and make this one appear. Now very simple, very simple thing. Right, so what we want to have first of all is our drop down menu, and we want to have display is none. So we don't want it to be visible at all, but we want it to be there, okay, but just not visible. So we can now get rid of it, and we can hover over it as much as you want. And if you come onto Firebug down here, you'll see, and you click away from it, you'll see that, why is that done? Li drop down, yeah, it's fine. Okay, you can see that all the elements with inside are, let's do a refresh on that. Now it's better. Now you can see it's completely greyed out, okay, because it's display none. That's what we want. So it's not potentially there, but we want to now have some form of listener on this one button here on the drop underscore holder li. Very simple. All right. What we got to do is come to here once again, and let's come here, and we want this one here. And we'll say drop holder, hover, okay, and then come here, and I'm going to show you the wrong way first, and we're going to say display block, but that wouldn't do anything. Alright, that's saying display block when drop underscore holder hovers, okay, and we're accessing this one element. Well, it's already visible, so let's just continue on, and we'll just say ul dot drop down. And that's it. We're just going to say, hey, when this one hovers, continue on and actually edit this one. Alright, so we're waiting for it to hover. And this works in every browser. Okay, so come here, come up to here, and there it is. And guess what? Boff, gone. And it's come and it goes, come and it goes, and so on. Now when we leave the button as well, the background of the button changes colour as back to the normal colour, and the other ones continue on nicely. So now what we want to do is we want to have the background colour of each button change as well. Okay, so change back to grey. Very simple. So we now got these ones, and what we're going to say is then hover on the anchor tag, and we'll say backgrounds A1 color equals FF. Okay, so now what we're doing is we're saying ul dot hori, and we want to be less specific on there for the li, and then the ul, but then we want potentially say drop holder, which that would be less specific, and ul drop down li anchor tag hover. Okay, so that's what's going to happen. So let's save this, come back to here, do a bit of a hover there. Okay, now you see that our buttons are starting to get some shape. Now let's put a border around this drop down menu to give it a little bit more pizzazz, shall we? So let's come then to this one, and we'll just say border. Whoops. Border 1 pixel solid, and then A1, A1. Oh no, we put 555. Okay, but I don't want the top to have a border. Okay, so we're just going to knock the top one out. It's actually 3 lines of code to do then the left, right, and the bottom, or it's 2 lines of code to give it all a border, then take out the border from the top. Therefore, 2 lines of code seems better to me than 3. There we go, and now we get some form of border on it. Okay, and as we roll over, there's not much else really to explain than this. What else was I going to explain? No, that's about it, I think really. Well, and to take this one step further, obviously, if you then hovered over another element, which would then be active, you could then just say submenu, and then it would go on from there, and on from there, and on from there. But it's the same idea. From drop holder, what if you've got, say, relative, your position relative, and so on, then the next element's down, then down and down. It's the same idea all the time. If you just follow this tutorial, but just keep it going down and down and down, you can keep being able to do this. Alright? Okay, so that's... I'm just going to have I'm sure there's something else I want to tell you. Obviously not. No, so I can't think of anything else, because that potentially is a drop down. Now, as I said, this is only with CSS. Therefore, you could implement some form of JavaScript into it. Although, I mean, it works. The whole thing works as a drop-down menu, and you don't have to worry about shutting JavaScript off and your menus not working. Why make a drop-down menu with JavaScript when you can make it with CSS? And you know that your navigation bar works all the time. I mean, surely a navigation bar that doesn't work when people switch stuff off is the worst thing which you want. It's the last thing that you want. You want a navigation bar that will work regardless of what people switch on and switch off. Okay, you can then use tricks later on to add some effects if you can't do it with CSS. But you can do it with CSS. Obviously, if you wanted then to have faded in ones and then animated ones and stuff, then that is then an addition to how it should be. But in the end result of what you want is, you want, does the navigation bar show, and is there a drop down menu? Yes. Okay, and does it look okay? Yes, that's what you want. So at least accomplish the task first. Now, the position relative was all relevant to the text outside, okay? And we told the navigation bar, we told the UL, hey, you're a height of 30, alright? Therefore, that's why if you don't put position relative, it doesn't see any other elements beneath it, okay? Because it's only showing the first 30 pixels. The rest is there, but it's just not being displayed. But position relatives pulls that stuff out of it and kind of takes it on top of it, one layer up, which means then you can start seeing it. I guess you should just have a read about position relative and so on, but position absolutes, that will then do something else completely. Okay, but that's it. All right, that's a drop-down menu on your navigation bar. As simple as that. Okay, it took 24 minutes, but to be honest with you, it probably take you about 3 or 4 minutes to implement. Okay, it's just the fact that you had to listen to me for the extra 20 minutes talking about it. I hope it's been helpful. I hope you've enjoyed it. Okay, I know I have another video tutorial about how to do a CSS navigation bar, but potentially I'm going to tell you that the other video shouldn't watch it, because this one's the correct one. Okay, this one tells you how to make a CSS navigation bar, and this one tells you how to make a drop down menu as well. Therefore, all the information which I've given you within inside of this tutorial, I would follow this tutorial. The other tutorial works. It makes a navigation bar, okay, and people watch it. Therefore I keep it, but potentially I wanted to make a new one because this one is the correct one, okay, and I much prefer this method than the other method which I did. But I like to keep these video tutorials because people can then see how you can do it and how you can't do it. There's more than one way to complete every single task. Okay, if you don't know who I am, and you're watching this video tutorial somewhere else, not on YouTube, then my name's David Thorne. I'm from Thorne Web Design on YouTube. Okay, you can come to my channel, watch some other CSS video tutorials. At this one point there's only 6, well it will be 7 now with this one video tutorial, but I'm trying to just do a couple more as well to add them on there, because I've noticed that they're quite popular videos as well, so therefore I'm going to do a few more. But thanks very much for watching. I'm very happy that you came. Also, I'm posting a few questions on Facebook at the moment, on my Facebook page, or on my Thorne Web Design Facebook page, just because I'm interested on some feedback, okay, which languages you're using, and so on. So keep a check out of which questions I'm asking, because I'm trying to get as much feedback as possible from you about what it is that you like, okay, what type of things which I can do. I've had a few requests from people to do a few things. Some of them are possible, but it's just way too much work for me to really find a simple short explanation for something. So there's some things which I can do, right, but to put it into a video is really difficult, and there's other things which are really difficult, but to put into a video is really simple to explain it. Therefore I have to have a think about these ideas and whether I can achieve them in a video in a short space of time with someone understanding them. Okay, right, that's it. Thanks very much for your time. I'm David Thorne. Have a nice day.